So here's our second category, the fighter. And again, not every fighter is the same. There are many different things you can do by fighting in the game. Maybe you are a pirate and you rob other people and making money that way, or you could be a military pilot and work for the official military in various factions of the universe, or you can just play missions, and everywhere firepower is helpful. So again, there are different types of ships with different levels of equipment, and it starts with different S ships already at the bottom. The very small scout ship, which usually only has one weapon but can be very fast and maneuverable. Larger fighters with multiple weapons and sometimes also with better shields. These are still all S ships. Then we move up the ladder to the M ships, which can be a frigate or any kind of larger, heavier bomber, for example. And at the very top, again, we have L and even XL ships, like destroyers and carriers. All of these ships you can personally fly, so you can be on the bridge of a capital ship and click on the captain to take over the control of a capital ship, or you can be in the cockpit of every small S ship, or you can land with your S ship on an M ship and with the M ship on an L ship, and so on. All of that is possible in this game. As a fight-oriented player, you probably don't always want to buy your ships at a shipyard or wharf, but actually capture them in fight. And with S and M ships, that's easily possible. So there's always a chance that during a fight with one of your enemies, the crew and in the end also the pilot will leave the ship. And once the pilot leaves, the ship is empty and you should stop firing immediately, because this usually happens when the shield and the hull are very, very much at the end. So then stop firing immediately, and here's your new captured ship. To get it actually and own it yourself, you also have to fly over personally with your spacesuit, look for a signal leak, scan that, and then at that moment it is controlled by you. You can open the airlock, get into the ship and take over the control. You will probably also want to move a pilot to this ship or other crew members again once you move the ship to a station where you can do that. While in the spacesuit, you can actually also repair ships. This is not really a very exciting activity, but sometimes after a fight that costs you a lot of hull, this can be pretty useful to do. The easier way to repair your hull is obviously to land on a wharf and pay for it a small fee. Once you fight against much larger targets, especially stations, EMP bombs and also normal bombs could become very useful. And again, you place them with your spacesuit and detonate them remotely. This can be a very effective way to damage and destroy entire stations. Back to your ship controls. The new version 3.0 of the game has a flight school, and I suggest everybody to actually try it out. But there is one fundamental difference in how you control a ship, and that is some people prefer to have tilt and roll on their controller, while others use tilt and yaw. Both is possible, and you can configure any input method to use either system. Especially with a joystick, you can always map the axis that you want to use. For gamepads, controllers, you can even use something called adaptive steering, which means that your controller will behave differently depending on how maneuverable a ship is. A longish ship that has its mass not distributed to the sides will usually roll much better than yaw, and so as soon as you enter one of those ships and you have adaptive steering mapped, your controller will automatically use the roll axis, while on a wider ship with engines on the outside, you can more easily use the yaw axis. This is different from ship to ship. There are many ways to control your ship, with direct steering with the mouse, for example, like it was possible in X3, where you don't even have a mouse cursor on your screen, or the more modern way with a mouse cursor that controls your ship's movement as soon as you hold down the left mouse button, or with shift space you can enable a mode where you are permanently following the mouse cursor. with the joystick, obviously, with the gamepad. Many things are possible, and again, I suggest you try out the flight school, which explains some of those features and how to configure them best for your use case. Another thing that you can change while playing is the behavior of your steering. We have a computer assistance that we call Flight Assist that is normally always turned on as soon as you are in a ship, but you can turn it off for a more Newtonian flight physics, where your ship actually continues to fly in a direction even if you rotate it by 180 degrees until you accelerate again. This is possible by turning off the flight assistance. This is mappable to a key. You can also do this on the joystick, of course, and again, it's explained in the flight school. Newtonian flight maneuvers can be especially useful for attacking capital ships because it allows you to basically drift along a moving target and, for example, fire to the side at their turrets while you drift along the ship. Another special feature of X4 is that your ship can be dragged with larger objects, especially capital ships. So if you are in an S or an M ship and get really, really close to a capital ship, your ship gets slowly dragged with the capital ship, and that allows you to focus on the surface of that ship and target, for example, turrets or shield generators individually, while not caring about the large ship potentially even flying turns. So you will not be rammed by the capital ship if you are very close to it. This really allows for dogfight and flying into a capital ship like the channels on the Death Star. Similar to capturing small ships, it's also possible to board large ships. It's not as easy as with S and M ships because they have a large crew and there is no chance that the entire crew will leave without a fight and hand over the large capital ship to you, but you can prepare for a boarding operation. This requires Marines, which are a special category of crew on your own ships, which can be trained to become better and improve your offensive power against such a ship. And it requires that you prepare the target ship by shooting down its hull, by destroying turrets and shield generators, and then start a boarding operation with the boarding menu. In that menu you can see what your chances are that all of your Marines will survive, or most of your Marines will survive, and this way you can basically get the ownership of a large capital ship and save a lot of money which you would otherwise spend to buy such a ship. After boarding or capturing, you can always upgrade your ship, or of course you simply buy a new ship at a shipyard and upgrade it. Our ships are modular: engines, shield generators, thrusters for the side movements, and also for the rotation of the ship, as well as lots of surface elements on capital ships like turrets and shield generators, and many other things internally, like software updates, can all be installed in the wharf or in the shipyard's upgrade ship menu. So this is basically the same menu no matter if you buy a new ship and equip it that way, or if you take a ship that you got otherwise and want to just repair it and upgrade it. Not all factions will sell you all of the available upgrades. There's especially some weapon technology that requires licenses. So you have to get better friends with a faction first and then get a license from that faction in order to be able to buy the really, really high-tech weapons, especially for capital ships. Among the software upgrades for ships, there is also the target computer that helps you more easily target what you have selected as a soft target with the HUD of your ship. This is behaving differently depending if you use mouse controls, where you select a target by just clicking, or if you use a gamepad, where we have an automated locking mechanism that you can also activate but also override with the digipad on your gamepad. Either way, you have selected target and the targeting computer will allow you to shoot off the center of your HUD cross, and that's a very powerful upgrade. Of course, in addition to the normal weapon types like lasers, plasma weapon, beam weapon, all of those different weapon types, there are also launchers that allow you to launch missiles and rockets. Those can be configured and basically put into the same slots that primary weapons can oftentimes be put in, or they can be equipped as turrets. In both cases, they would require ammunition, and that's the main difference to the other primary weapons. There's a couple of different ammo types for those launchers, like swarm missiles, for example, dumbfire missiles, which just go straight on, versus auto-targeting missiles, heat-seeking missiles, but also torpedoes, which are slower and heavier, but are ideal against slow-moving or stationary targets like stations because they do a lot of damage. In order to protect yourself from missiles, you can actually use flares on your ship. This is again an upgrade and ammo type that you can install on your ship. And once you are in space and you hear the alarm about an incoming missile, you can press a button to drop some of those flares, and it helps distract the missiles from you. NPCs use them as well, of course. I have mentioned turrets before. All ships larger than the S-type can have turrets. So already an M ship that is still a very good fighter that you can personally control from the cockpit perspective can have turrets. And turrets can be controlled from your normal HUD view by just clicking on the icon, or they can be configured from the ship info menu, and they can have different modes. So you can set up a turret for missile defense, for example, or to just support you in attacking your target, or to generally shoot down everybody that's attacking you in a defense mode. Also, if there are mining weapons equipped to a turret, you can set mining modes and more. As you can see in the upgrade menu for your ship, there's not just ammo, but also some other deployable things that you can equip to your ship and which just use the deployable storage. Among those things are, for example, laser towers. Laser towers are simple automated weapons that you can just drop off your ship and which then automatically fire on all of your enemies. NPCs like to frequently use laser towers on transporter ships. So while a transporter, especially an M transporter, is oftentimes not very heavily equipped with weapons, it might have some laser towers to drop when in a fight. Also, this is something that you will notice quickly when you try pirating activities. In addition to laser towers, there are also fight drones, and they are actually mobile and can also be dropped in the same way from the deployables menu. But in this case, they automatically go after your enemies. And again, NPCs like to use them a lot, especially larger ships sometimes launch entire swarms of little drones attacking their targets. Even a fighter, of course, needs to make money in order to upgrade their ship. So one way to make money in fights is also to pick up loot, as all ships might drop loot in a fight, not necessarily only when they die, but sometimes also earlier. There's always a good chance that there is something valuable to pick up. And you don't even have to fight yourself all the time, because sometimes by just observing an ongoing battle between NPC factions, there's a good chance that you can find something valuable to pick up. It's also always a good idea to hunt down the enemies of your friend factions. Because it helps you not just to get money, but also to increase your reputation with them. So hunting down Xenon in the middle of an Argon sector can help you get a better reputation with them, but also finding pirates can be very helpful in that regard. The difference with pirates is that they are not always obvious, because they use cover. So sometimes it's necessary to scan a ship to identify it as a pirate, in order to be able to hunt it down later. So for that you have the ship scanner, and that helps you to find ships that are just smuggling wares illegally potentially, or also to find pirates. Another way to make money as a fighter could be to steal from stations. You can also hack stations with bombs and EMP bombs, as I mentioned already in the trade section. But you can also go on stations and go to the security rooms and use some handcrafted items to hack a station from the inside. More on that later in the exploration section. but that way you can get a station to actually drop a lot of its cargo, the stuff that it has for production, and then sometimes you might be lucky and be able to pick up that cargo either personally with your ship yourself, or by again ordering some of your other ships to pick up that cargo and then sell it for you. You might not even have to do the hacking part yourself, because sometimes pirates are doing the exact same thing on stations, and you can see that and identify that they have dropped cargo near a station and try to pick it up. Of course, you can try to pick it up before them and steal it from the pirates again. Just be careful that you are not caught with these goods and that you are caught stealing, because then the faction that operates the station might also get upset at you. This video is part of a series explaining the features of X4 Foundations. There are parts about trade, fight, build, think, explore and strategy gameplay. Choose the next one you are interested in from the Egosoft YouTube channel or the playlist to watch them all in one session.